I inherited my uncle's sinister cabin in British Columbia. 7 terrifying rules revealed. Lisa stared at the cryptic letter, the words bleeding into the blurry chaos of her mundane life. Her heart hammered as she read about Uncle Frank's death and the unexpected inheritance, a remote cabin in British Columbia. The suburb of New Jersey felt suffocating. But what awaited her in that cabin? Would the isolation provide the escape she desperately craved? She could almost taste the freedom. Intrigued, Lisa called her friends, Emma and Kyle, for a spontaneous road trip. After all, how terrifying could a rustic cabin be? Driving through mountains of green that swallowed the horizon was a thrill. Yet as phone service faded and signs of civilization withered, Lisa's excitement curdled into anxiety. With each winding mile, dense trees whispered secrets, their gnarled branches like fingers reaching for the sky. Early evening settled in, draping an ominous cloak over them, and when they arrived at the cabin, which stood like a trapped ghost among towering conifers, unease prickled the nape of Lisa's neck. Inside, a chill swept over her. Dust danced in streaks of fading light, and Uncle Frank's handwritten note, scrawled in an almost frantic script, made the air heavy. 7 terrifying rules, it declared, rules that sparked laughter initially but dimmed quickly with trepidation. Lisa read them aloud. Don't wander too far after dark. Never provoke the creatures of the woods. Eccentric? Sure. But harmless, right? Yet, the very vibe of the cabin seeped through the wooden walls, thickening the air around them. That night, as darkness claimed the world outside, the sounds began. Twigs snapping like fragile bones echoed in the stillness, punctuated by low, eerie whispers that seemed to creep just beyond their comprehension. Panic coursed through Lisa as she exchanged quick glances with Kyle. It's just the wind, Emma declared, though her bright demeanor flickered. The following morning, after a restless night, they ventured into town for supplies. Local faces peered out from behind weathered curtains, exchanged glances that sent shivers through Lisa. Then they met Ralph, a man whose knowing smile froze the blood in her veins. He spoke of family history, of Frank, and those cursed woods, but she quickly brushed off his warnings. That night, the cabin's shadows seemed to elongate, each snap of breaking branches slicing through the unsettling silence. Emma, feeling bold, defied Uncle Frank's rules and wandered into the woods. I'll be right back, she assured. But as hours stretched, dread sank its fangs deeper into Lisa's heart. She must have lost track of time, Kyle murmured, though his voice trembled. Dawn broke with a chilling emptiness. Emma was nowhere to be found. Panic surged, and their frantic search yielded nothing but unsettling quiet and ominous trees that loomed ever closer. With every creak and whisper, their surroundings felt increasingly hostile. Desperation clawed at Lisa as the truth about Uncle Frank's past unraveled, a twisted family legacy entwined with folklore, curses, and blood. As shadows encroached and the woods seemed to breathe around her, trepidation morphed into something darker. The air thickened with an unsettling mist, memories flickered like dying fireflies, and Lisa sensed something lurking within, something that had always been there. What if she wasn't just seeking escape but delving into a nightmare? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As twilight wrapped its fingers around the cabin, Lisa heard a piercing scream, raw and filled with terror. Was it Emma? A fleeting thought crossed her mind, a chilling realization that they were all bound to the sins of Uncle Frank. Frozen between dread and urgency, she turned to the door, knowing that in these woods, every rule mattered, and discovering the truth might cost her everything. Would she confront the lurking terror or succumb to it? Heart pounding, Lisa flung the door open, the cool air slapping her face like a cruel reminder of the urgency. Darkness engulfed her, a thick blanket that wrapped around her body, pulling her deeper into the depths of the trees. She hesitated, glancing back at Kyle, whose wide eyes reflected sheer panic. "What do we do?" he whispered, fear coating his words. "Emma's gone. We have to find her," Lisa snapped, forcing herself to appear brave. The shadows danced, taunting her with glimpses of twisted branches and shuffling forms that might have been merely figments of her imagination. They stepped into the woods, each crunch of twigs beneath their feet sounding like an alarm, echoing in the hollow air. "Emma," Lisa called, her voice cracking under pressure. "Where are you?" The trees held their breath, not even a whisper unsettling the heavy silence. She feared the woods were listening, watching, lurking. With every step, the chill intertwined with her unease. Vague shapes slipped just beyond her line of sight. She couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. The woods were alive, hiding something beneath the surface, something that knew exactly who they were and what had brought them here. "Did you hear that?" Kyle's voice trembled as they pushed further, veering off the path marked by time and neglect. Lisa paused, focusing her ears on the wood's heartbeat. A low growl resonated through the trees, unmistakable and hungry. "Maybe it's just an animal?" she suggested weakly, though doubt festered within her. They pressed on, each footfall steeped in dread, and the night grew heavier, a weight of expectation that crushed them like an unseen hand. Then, like a punch to the gut, Lisa heard it again, a scream, this time clear and unmistakable. It came from deeper in the woods, filled with terror and desperation. "Emma! Emma!" she screamed again, but the woods swelled with an oppressive silence that swallowed her voice. "Lisa, we can't," Kyle started, but she cut him off, feeling the last threads of control slip away. "I have to go," she declared, a mix of defiance and fear blazing in her veins. Without another word, she bolted forward, limbs burning, heart racing. Branches clawed at her, snagging her clothes and skin, drawing blood that dripped like an offering to whatever waited in the dark. Distant cries echoed like echoes of the past, pleas laced with something darker. "Wait," Kyle shouted, trying to catch up, but she didn't let the urgency fade. She couldn't. The woods twisted around her as if alive, bending paths into grotesque angles, warping reality. Then she stumbled into a clearing, breathless, eyes wide. The moon bathed the space in a ghostly glow, illuminating the ground and something that knotted her stomach, a shape half buried in leaves. "Emma!" Lisa gasped, rushing forward, but it wasn't her friend. The figure wore a cloak of shadows, eyes glinting like hunted prey. Wisps of fog wound around it, making it appear larger, more menacing. It hovered unnaturally still, as if assessing Lisa with a gaze that pierced deeper than the flesh. The creature twisted slightly, revealing a distorted face that didn't belong to anything human, yet somehow reminded her of Emma. Panic shot through Lisa like a lightning bolt. "Run!" Kyle's voice broke through, but fear anchored her feet to the earth. And then the creature moved, its form twitching and shifting, like it was pulling itself from the shadows. "Why did you come here?" it whispered, the voice tinged with malice. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but she froze, mind racing. The answer was in the 7 rules, buried with Uncle Franca's sins, and she had walked right into the heart of it all. What had she unleashed? As she turned to escape, a sharp claw lunged from the darkness just behind her, and she was left with a choice. Confront the monstrosity or become another lost soul in the woods. The ground trembled beneath her feet, terror clawing at her throat. Would the horrifying secrets of her family drive her to madness, or could she fight against them? Lisa's legs propelled her forward as the air around her thickened, laced with dread and confusion. Time stretched, an eternal moment pulled taut by the serpent-like creature's gaze, each second throbbing like a heartbeat in her ears. "Come on!" Kyle's voice cracked like thunder behind her, jolting her into motion. She turned, racing towards him, the darkness clawing at her back, whispering secrets that terrified her to the core. They burst out of the clearing together, hearts hammering as they plunged deeper into the woods, branches scraping at their skin like warning fingers. Shadows morphed into grotesque shapes, flitting through the trees, and every rustle sent a jolt of fear through them. "Where are we going?" Kyle gasped, desperation etched into his features. Anywhere but here, she gasped, pushing through tight spaces between twisted trunks, her breath coming in reckless bursts with no plan, just adrenaline. They darted down a winding path, the trees parting like the jaws of some great beast poised to swallow them whole. Distant clattering echoed behind them, and she spun, catching a fleeting glimpse of something darting between the trunks, a flicker of fur or feathers, perhaps a trick of the light, but the dreadful feeling gnawed at her gut. "Emma!" Lisa cried again, her voice a thin thread woven into the vast, eerie silence. Fear gnawed at her insides, thoughts racing through her mind, frantic prayers tangled with guilt. She shouldn't have dragged them here. Why didn't Frank burn this cursed ground? A shriek cut through the quiet, agonizing and raw. Lisa skidded to a halt, entangled in dread and confusion. That wasn't Emma's voice, but it was a cry filled with anguish that clawed at her heart. "Emma's not out there," Kyle panted, panic suffusing his words. "We need to go back." "Back? Are you crazy?" Lisa shot back, her voice sharp as glass. "What if that thing is still following us?" They hesitated, kaleidoscopes of shadows swirling around them. Lisa could feel the darkness crawling closer, the air thick with the scent of decay and damp earth. She wanted to run, wanted to scream, but fear siphoned her breath, as if a vice gripped her throat. Then, she felt something slide against her ankle, cool, liquid, and heavy like sin. She stumbled backward, eyes darting down to a creature lurking in the underbrush. Its skin glistened wetly under the moonlight, and there were countless eyes all watching her, all knowing her. "Run! Now!" Kyle propelled her forward, his terror propelling them both. They pushed through the foliage, racing past either side of a gnarled tree distorted into a monstrous claw reaching for their souls. Behind them, unearthly hisses echoed, low and menacing. A chorus of whispered threats that seemed to promise relentless torment as they rounded another bend. The path opened to a frail cabin, its wood worn and aged like a long-forgotten relic. "Maybe we can hide in there," Lisa suggested, hope flaring between her lungs like a dying ember, but deep down she knew it felt wrong. Every fiber of her being urged her to turn away. "No way!" Kyle tugged her back, eyes wide and frantic. "That's not a shelter. It's a trap." But before they could discuss their options, a gust of wind swept through the clearing, freezing the air around them. The cabin creaked ominously, as though it were alive and waiting. "Please, we have to go inside," Lisa pleaded. She could picture Emma there, perhaps waiting, perhaps needing them. "Lisa!" Kyle's voice faded, overtaken by a guttural growl that echoed around them, shaking the very earth. The cabin door creaked open, revealing nothing but blackness inside. A voice called, low and seductive, echoing her name. "Emma?" Lisa stepped forward, helplessly drawn into the mouth of the unknown. What awaited her inside? Was it deliverance? Or was it another layer of the deadly game Uncle Frank had spun? But the moment she placed one foot over the threshold, the door slammed shut behind her, sealing her fate as an unholy laughter danced in the shadows, filling the air with terror. What other horrors lay twisted in the depths of this cabin, and who would emerge unscathed? The darkness inside the cabin clawed at Lisa like a living entity, wrapping her in a suffocating embrace. Panic surged through her, amplifying the echoes of her heartbeat in the silence. It smelled of earth and rot, a stark contrast to the fresh air outside that now felt like a distant dream. She stumbled deeper into the oppressive blackness, her hands outstretched, searching for anything solid. "Emma?" she whispered, the fragile hope in her voice wavering as it chipped away against the stillness. "Kyle?" No response came. Every fiber of her being screamed that she had to get out, that her very existence was under siege by something far more sinister than she could comprehend. Just then, a door creaked somewhere behind her, the sound sharp and clear, slicing through the tension like a knife. She spun around, the echo of her surroundings mocking her. The blackness shifted, and shadows began to dance at the corners of her vision. It was as if the cabin was breathing, its walls shifting and closing in like a predatory beast ready to pounce. Her flashlight flickered, illuminating grotesque faces in the wood grain, caught for a moment before plunging her back into oppressive darkness. Emma. The name felt heavy on her tongue, a plea wrapped in dread. Suddenly, from the other side of the cabin, a low laughter erupted, throaty and rich, as if the cabin itself was alive and amused by her fear. The sound echoed off the wooden beams, an unnerving symphony of delight that froze her blood. Then silence fell again, a silence so thick it hummed deafeningly in her ears. Lisa felt her way across the rough wall, every inch a struggle against the dark. Her fingers brushed against a heavy wooden table, cold and damp beneath her touch. A sudden scraping noise made her jerk back, heart racing as fear surged through her like ice water. In this dreadful moment, she wished for the safety of their camp, the warmth of a flickering fire. In that darker-than-dark cavity, she sensed a shift, a disturbance in the air that prickled her skin. A figure emerged from the shadows, movement fluid and unnatural. It moved close, too close, and Lisa could make out a face hideously contorted, half lit by her faltering light. Its eyes, pinpricks of light, gleamed with unholy anticipation as it took a step closer, almost gliding over the wooden floorboards. Lisa, it crooned, a voice slithering and soft, twisting her name into something almost seductive. Why did you come here? Every instinct told her to flee, but she was rooted to the spot, fear coaxing her into submission. The thing reached out a claw-like hand, beckoning her with trembling fingers that dripped a thick, dark substance that pooled on the floor. The grotesque visage seemed to breathe in her terror, savoring it like a fine wine. Whereas Emma, her voice broke, trembling against the weight of the creature's presence. Here or nowhere. Depending on your choice, it hissed, the words curling through the air like smoke. She could feel its breath, rancid and steamy, washing over her like a wave of dread. Before she could respond, the cabin shuddered violently, the walls trembling and groaning as if in agony. A sudden crash rattled the place, and Lisa instinctively braced herself, stumbling back. The door slammed open with a ferocious bang, revealing Kyle, wild-eyed and breathless. Lisa, you have to get out, he shouted into the void. But the creature twisted towards him, hissing, and Lisa could see in that moment the choice it offered wasn't merely a figment of her imagination. The shadows around them flickered, and what lurked inside the cabin shifted, hungry for more than just fear. As Kyle lunged for her hand, the world erupted in chaos. Run! Lisa screamed, yanking herself away from the shadowy figure. They bolted toward the doorway just as it lunged for them, claws outstretched, an insatiable hunger that promised anguish. But as they broke free into the moonlight, the ground beneath them began to tremble, roots and vines wrapping around their ankles like cursed chains, pulling them back toward the mouth of that wretched cabin. What had they awakened? And would escape come at a price far greater than they imagined? Tension crackled in the air as Lisa and Kyle struggled against the unseen forces, trying to drag them back into the cabin. Lisa felt the rough texture of roots wrapping tightly around her legs, a creeping dread overtaking her as she and Kyle fought to free themselves. With a desperate yank, she pulled her foot free, heart racing, adrenaline surging. We have to get to the trees, she shouted, pointing to the line of dark woods at the edge of the clearing. But the shadows from behind them surged closer, reaching for them with tendril-like fingers that writhed like serpents. Move! Kyle gritted through clenched teeth, focused solely on the trees. They burst into motion, the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filling their lungs as they stumbled away from the cabin's jagged outline. Each step felt like a battle against an unseen force as they neared the trees. Roots snapped at their heels, searching for purchase. Lisa cast a glance back. The cabin loomed eerily, like a toothy maw waiting, unrelenting. Emma! She cried out, voice wavering, uncertainty creeping in. Was their friend trapped inside that malignant dwelling? What foul fate awaited her if they were too late? There's nothing we can do, Kyle yelled, his eyes wild with fear. We need to survive. But the words hit Lisa like a stone. Could she abandon Emma, even for a fleeting chance at escape? The thought twisted inside her, pulling her back toward the cabin. But Kyle's grip was iron around her arm, pulling her onward into the dark embrace of the forest and the shadows of the trees. The disorienting darkness pressed in on them, but there was no reprieve from the choking fear that still clung to the air. The woods seemed alive. Each rustle of leaves and snap of branches felt like warnings from an angry spirit. They stopped, gasping for breath, straining their ears for any sign of pursuit. What the hell was that? Kyle panted, eyes darting over the landscape, seeking signs of danger. It wants us. Lisa's voice trembled as she turned from the treeline, where the flicker of headlights caught her eye. They had driven here, and the car was still parked at the edge of the clearing. We can make it to the car. No, Kyle protested, panic biting at his words. We shouldn't go back. We have to put distance between us and that thing. But Lisa could feel the car's pull too strongly, the closest reminder of safety in a night torn to shreds by horror. She started sprinting toward the clearing, her heart hammering in her chest. They were nearly there when a rustle in the trees stalled their progress. Dark shapes moved, blending seamlessly with the night around them. Another figure emerged. This one tall and lanky, its face obscured by shadows. Lisa's breath hitched as recognition settled in her gut. Emma? She gasped, her heart racing with a mix of hope and dread. But the figure shifted, a cruel twist of familiarity. You came back, they whispered, voice threaded with a chilling echo. It spoke with Emma's tone, yet something was irrevocably wrong. Emma, is that you? Lisa called, hope trailing off into uncertainty. Join us, the figure smiled, but a hollow laugh followed, echoing a chord of malice that buzzed in the midnight air. Kyle pulled Lisa back just as the shadows deepened around them, swirling and shifting, forming into grotesque shapes that blurred the line between nightmare and reality. Run, now, he yelled, but Lisa couldn't move. She felt the pull of the figure, the false promise of safety and familiarity. The branches reached out like clawing hands, holding them captive with entangled thoughts. They were trapped, both by the shadows encroaching around them and the haunting visage of their friend or what was left of her. Fear thudded in Lisa's chest as she realized the truth. There was a choice to be made, but it was not just hers to bear. In the flickering shadows, the figures waited, hungry for their fate to be sealed. Would they break free from this darkness or succumb to the sinister lure of the woods and the promises woven through ash and dust? As dread curled around them like smoke, another voice echoed in the distance, the cabin's laugh, and within it, the twisted words. You can't escape what belongs to you. What did it mean? And what horrors awaited in the chilling silence that now threatened to swallow them whole? The shadows seemed to dance as Lisa and Kyle stood frozen, uncertainty creeping into their bones. The figure that had once been Emma appeared to sway, tantalizing yet terrifying, as if caught between two worlds. Join us, it repeated, voice oozing with unsettling sweetness, an echo of the past drowning in malevolence. What does that mean? Lisa whispered, her pulse quickening as the darkness around them seemed to breathe. Kyle tugged at her arm, pulling her away from the figure. We can't listen to it. It's not Emma anymore. His voice was urgent, a lifeline cutting through the paralyzing fear. But Lisa felt herself torn, like a moth drawn to an irresistible flame, every instinct screaming to approach. Emma, she shouted, desperation crackling in the air. We're here. We can help you. The words fell flat, swallowed by the oppressive atmosphere that throbbed with unseen tension. The figure smiled, but it twisted into something grotesque, its visage contorting in ways that defied logic. Its once familiar features melted, revealing a hollow face that seemed to pulsate with darkness. Help? You can't help what's been claimed. A ripple of cold swept through the clearing, and Lisa's throat tightened. She was fighting against something much larger than herself, and the panic surged anew as she began to understand the breadth of their peril. We have to go. Now. The urgency in Kyle's voice cut through her trance. With newfound strength, she broke free from the magnetic pull and sprinted toward the treeline. But as they fled, the haunting laughter echoed behind them, a cacophony of voices overlapping, calling her name, twisting it into an unrecognizable chant. The woods closed in, branches clawing at their clothes as they tried to escape. What did it mean? She gasped, glancing over her shoulder, heart pounding as dread pooled in her gut. The twisted figure lingered, shadows lingering in its wake like a forgotten ghost. Forget it. Just keep running, Kyle shouted, but Lisa's heart wrestled with doubt. What had they left behind? Was Emma already lost to them? They plunged deeper into the forest, the underbrush thick and winding. The moon hid behind an opaque veil of clouds, casting them into deeper darkness. Fear gnawed at their senses, making every crack of a branch feel like a sinister warning. The air thickened with a suffocating mist, twisting their surroundings into a nightmare of shadow and confusion. They stumbled, gasping for breath, fighting against the oppressive weight of the forest. Kyle's grip on her hand tightened, his knuckles white as he pulled her further from the whispers that echoed behind them. Then, a low growl reverberated through the trees, primal and threatening. They froze, eyes wild as the sound morphed into something human, yet wrong. A low vibrating laughter echoed again, slithering through the night like a serpent in the grass. Lisa felt her skin prickle. What had they awakened? What lingered in the wooded depths, waiting to seize them? Look, Kyle gasped, pointing ahead. A faint light flickered through the trees, a beacon or a trap. They squinted through the fog, but uncertainty gripped them both, weaving tighter than the branches surrounding them. Do we go toward it? Lisa asked, fear clawing at her throat. Kyle hesitated, brow furrowed in deep concentration. Maybe it'll lead us out, or it could be a bad idea, he whispered, the shadows shifting around them like sentinels guarding a sacred secret. Either path could mean salvation or doom. With every breath, the darkness whispered promises and threats, the weight of their choices heavy in the air. As they shifted cautiously toward the flickering light, the forest groaned, reverberating with what felt like both laughter and sobbing, intertwining into an unholy chorus. The woods closed in, intent on burying the truth and twisting reality. Just past the glow lay their only chance of salvation, or perhaps the very heart of their nightmares. And as they edged closer, a new voice emerged from the darkness, a chilling snicker that hinted at long-forgotten secrets lurking in the silence. You belong to this place forever. What awaited them in the flickering light? And would they find a way to escape this nightmare? Or would they lose themselves to the sinister whispers of the woods? They advanced through the trees, the light dancing like a flame before them. Its allure surged with each cautious step they took, yet each step felt as if they were dragging chains. Shadows flickered in the corners of their vision, whispering threats that prickled their skin. What if it's a trap? Kyle muttered, glancing back into the shadows that felt like they were stretching, curling around his ankles, pulling him closer to the darkness. Lisa remained focused on the light, a desperate hope igniting in her chest. We have to try. We can't just keep running. The echoes of laughter behind them bubbled like boiling water, rising with an intensity that reflected their own rising panic. Closer now. The light took on substance, a lantern swinging slowly, illuminating a clearing choked with fog. The frame around it twisted, resembling grotesque hands reaching for them. Her gut clenched with instinctive dread. What if it's another trick? A shuddering breath escaped Kyle, who was loath to let go. We need to stay together, he replied firmly, the fear evident yet subdued under layers of denial. As they stepped into the glow, the air felt different, alive, thick with an energy that hummed like a live wire. The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie stillness, and the lantern's light created sharp contrasts against the landscape. Trees twisted into grotesque shapes, their trunks gnarled and climbed high into the sky, merging with clouds that seemed to pulse with life, as if the darkness above was watching them. The ground beneath them sank slightly, a carpet of decaying leaves and roots releasing a sour scent, curdling with memories that lurked in the silence. Felt wrong, unsettling. Look, Lisa pointed toward something just beyond the light. A figure stood there, part of the shadows, yet undeniably human. Its silhouette was dwarfed by the glowing lantern, and as they peered closer, anticipation brimming with anxiety, the figure stepped into the light. The breath hitched in Lisa's throat. It was Emma, or the shell of her, eyes hollow, skin pallid and stretched tight against an increasingly sinister smile. "You found me," she intoned, each word stretching and warping, as if her throat struggled to bring forth the syllables. "This isn't real." "You're not Emma," Kyle snapped, grabbing Lisa's arm, pulling her back. But Lisa stepped forward, fighting against the tide of fear. "What happened to you?" A desperate plea escaped her lips, and for a moment, hope and dread merged in her chest. Emma's head tilted, a slow, jerky motion that made Lisa's skin crawl. "Help me." Join us." The darkness behind Emma seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat, a whispering tide that beckoned them closer. "No," Kyle shouted, his panic now unmistakable. "Don't listen to her." But the air around them thickened, slipping through their fingers like fine sand, blurring the line between reality and something worse. Shadows pooled at Emma's feet, swirling, morphing into grotesque forms, shifting and writhing in frustration. "Join us, it's wonderful." Emma's voice lilted with a ghastly sweetness, and the laughter returned, echoing through the clearing as more faces emerged from the darkness, contorted in unnatural glee. They were trapped not just in this clearing, but at the mercy of something even more sinister that stretched beyond comprehension. Each face twisted beneath Bruce's lantern light seemed to share the same mocking grin, whispering enchanting horrors. Kyle gripped Lisa's hand tighter, every muscle in his body tensed. "We need to get out of here. Now." But it was Lisa that hesitated this time, the weight of the shadows beckoning her back. "Emma, run!" Kyle screamed, and with that command, he yanked her backward, tearing her gaze from the ghostly apparition that lingered between innocence and madness. But as they turned to flee, something cold wrapped around Lisa's ankle, dragging her back into the suffocating dark. She gasped, heart racing, struggling against the pull that tightened its grip. "Fight it!" Kyle shouted, fury and desperation mixing in his voice as he lunged forward to help her. The shadows laughed, a cacophony of chilling voices echoing through the night. "You can't escape your fate, you'll all be ours." With a final desperate push, Kyle freed her, and they were off again, sprinting wildly back into the darkness of the forest. But the trees seemed to sway, closing in around them like predatory beasts, their laughter blending into the whispers that promised eternal night as they stumbled deeper into the woods. Lisa felt the weight of their encounter lingering at the edge of her mind, festering. What did Emma mean by us? What fate awaited them now? The answer loomed like an impending storm, dark and chaotic. They could run, but for how long? A girl's voice broke through the darkness. "Help me, please." The chilling plea echoed around them. "Is it real?" Lisa gasped, fighting to push through her fear. Would they obey their instincts, or would this forest unveil the truth, one they were never ready to face? The flickering light behind them dimmed, but the shadows grew taller around them. What lay ahead was unknown, but one thing was clear: time was running out. They ran headlong into the embrace of the trees, the darkness closing in around them like a tightening noose. Each step seemed heavier now, as if the very earth conspired to pull them down, to claim their souls. Kyle did not dare look back, but he could feel the weight of those mocking eyes lingering on his back, sensing their hunger. "Keep moving," he shouted, trying to break through Lisa's fogged thoughts. The laughter from before echoed cruelly, now a twisted harmony carried by the wind. It was chilling. Lisa's legs felt like lead, dragging her down toward whatever awaited them in that abyss. "Listen." Lisa suddenly stopped, turning her head to catch the source of the voice that had pierced the tension between them. The girl's cries were faint but insistent. "Help, please. Don't stop," Kyle urged, grabbing her arm with urgency. Yet something about those words gripped Lisa's heart, beckoning her away from safety. Torn between the familiar face that had seemed so desperate and the raw fear churning in her gut, she hesitated just a moment too long. What if it's another trap? Kyle's voice trembled, fear thickening every syllable. "I have to know, Kyle. What if it's someone who really needs our help?" Her mind was a whirlwind, every fiber of her being fought against taking that step toward danger. Yet even the growing shadows whispered promises of truth and salvation. "Fine. You go. I'm getting out of here." He pulled away, his voice fading as he turned to run deeper into the unwelcoming forest. "Wait, Kyle." But the darkness swallowed his figure, leaving her alone in the suffocating grip of the woods. The laughter flickered with a life of its own around her, drawing her nearer. "Help me," the girl's voice threaded through the air again. Closer this time, fragile but desperate and somehow real. But then, as she followed the sound, the forest shifted. Trees creaked and groaned, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. A gust of wind rattled through the trees, sending chills down Lisa's spine. "Help!" The voice became a howl, morphing into something far more sinister. "Help!" It echoed around her, shifting now like a siren's song but with malice nestled in its melody. As she stumbled forward, Lisa felt a pulse beneath her feet, a rhythm that matched the frantic beat of her heart. It was intoxicating, a darkness tugging at her mind, urging her to give in, to stop running. Just a little further she heard the words again, this time almost like a caress, soothing yet unsettling. The shadows seemed to swell and shift, closing in like a curtain. Suddenly, she broke through the trees and into a small clearing. Her breath hitched sharply. Before her stood a figure silhouetted against the dim light of what looked like an old cabin. The girl was kneeling, her hands pressed against the ground as if trying to break free. "Help me," the girl pleaded once more, desperation seeping through her voice. But the moment Lisa took a step closer, the world around her shifted again. The ground felt alive, it pulsed with a dark rhythm, rocking her on her feet. "No!" she screamed as the shadows lunged, tendrils like serpents reaching out to ensnare her. A surge of panic rolled through her, and she turned, seeking escape, only to find more shadows swirling at her back, blocking her path. They swirled with faces twisted, horrified expressions frozen in a scream that echoed around her. With one raw scream, Lisa pushed back against the darkness, her feet pounding against the earth as she dashed toward the cabin. But as she reached for the door, it swung open on its own, revealing a void beyond, glowing softly, a door that promised salvation yet whispered dangers untold inside. She caught a glimpse of the girl still struggling on the ground. "Help, you have to help me," Lisa faltered, torn between instinct and this ghostly plea. As if in response, the shadows recoiled, gathering again to form a vortex around the cabin, pulling her deeper into its suffocating embrace. "Fight it," Lisa thought fiercely, breathing hard. But the fear clawed at her, urging her to obey, to surrender. But what lay in the dark beyond the door? A choice loomed ahead, shrouded in mystery and terror. Could she trust the girl, or was it all a ruse? With uncertainty twisting her insides, Lisa took a breath, wiped the sweat from her brow, and stepped forward, the shadows waiting with eagerness, and behind her, the truth echoed like a heartbeat. Did stepping inside mean finding salvation or sealing her fate, one that was intertwined with the sinister cabin and its dark secrets? The door creaked as Lisa stepped inside. Cool air washed over her, sharp and unnatural, sending shivers racing down her spine. The shadows wrapped around her like a damp cloak, constricting her every movement. The cabin was dim, its walls lined with peeling wallpaper that seemed to whisper secrets of the past. Flickering candlelight cast monstrous shapes across the wooden panels, twisting reality into something warped and grotesque. "Help me!" The girl's voice broke through the heavy silence, desperate and strained. Lisa's heart raced, not just from the fear of the looming darkness outside, but from the desperation lacing that plea, tugging at her like a magnet. "Who are you?" Lisa croaked, her throat dry. The flickering light revealed the girl's face, pale and tear-streaked, framed by tangled hair. She looked young, too young to be trapped in a nightmare. "My name is Anna. Please, I need you to pull me out," she pleaded, her eyes wide and glimmering with unshed tears. "They won't let me go unless you help me." "What do you mean?" Confusion surged within her, and she took a faltering step towards Anna. A tingle of anxiety crawled up Lisa's arms. "Who won't let you go?" The shadows, Anna whispered, her voice trembling as she pointed down at the floor beneath her. "They're alive. They want you too. They need a sacrifice." Lisa's breath caught. The floor groaned, the boards shifting beneath her like the heartbeat of a creature awake and hungry. Anna, Lisa began. But then a sudden loud crash echoed from outside, startling her. Jumping, she turned to the cracked window, seeing the dark silhouettes of twisted trees merging with ominous shadows. "Get out!" screamed Anna, lurching closer to the ground, her voice laced with terror. "They're coming for you. You have to make a choice." A choice. The shadows curled around Lisa's feet, fingers brushing her ankles like icy whispers. They pulled her downward, beckoning her to join whatever horrors lay below. "Help me!" Anna's voice now exploded with urgency, altering the fabric of the moment. "You have to break the bond. I can't hold them back much longer." Lisa felt the tension snapping around her threads fraying. She glanced at the vacant door. Could she escape, run back into the woods, or would it be a mistake? "Don't trust them," Anna shrieked, her voice cracking. "Let go." Terror surged through Lisa, battling every instinct that told her to flee. She loved her own life. The fight for survival burned brightly in her chest. "Stop!" she yelled. Panic swirled like a tempest around her mind, drowning out rational thought. "What do I do?" "The blade. It's in the drawer." Anna pointed toward a rusted cabinet that stood solemnly against the far wall. "You need something to sever the link. You must choose. Save yourself or risk your soul for mine." Dread pooled in Lisa's stomach. Each choice felt leaden, a chain wrapping tighter around her heart. "Please," Anna murmured, desperation infused in every syllable. The shadows surged, ominous and swirling, almost alive, filling the room with a suffocating presence. Fight the darkness, or give in and lose everything. With frantic steps, Lisa dashed toward the cabinet, the room closing in around her. Shadows shifted, lunging toward her as terror tightened its grip. Her fingers gripped the handle of a serrated, ancient blade, the metal cold and unyielding. Lisa turned back toward Anna, the whispers of the shadows intensifying, thickening the air with malevolence. "Now, Lisa!" But as she readied to strike, the cabin trembled, walls vibrating, the air thick with impending doom. Could she sever the bond? Would it even matter? Was Anna worthy of salvation, or merely another trap wrapped in darkness? The shadows pulsed, ready to consume her soul. And in that moment, hanging in time, she took a deep breath, ready to plunge into a choice that held consequences beyond her understanding. But would it save her or lead to horror unimaginable? Lisa's heart raced in rhythm with the shadows swirling around her, the weight of Anna's plea pressing against her conscience. "You have to choose." The voice rang clear, almost deafening in the chaos. Shadows wriggled like serpents, hungry and insatiable, threatening to envelop her whole. Serrated metal glinted in her hand, brittle with age yet promising power. But would that power truly sever a bond, or simply unleash darker forces? The very air felt electric with anticipation, as if even the cabin itself awaited her choice. In that paralyzing moment, she realized the truth. This was about more than survival. It was a battle for her soul, a tether to both Anna and the sinister legacy of Uncle Frank. "Will it hurt?" Lisa whispered, glancing at Anna. The girl's eyes shimmered with desperation. Her form flickered like a dying ember. Lisa had to know, could she trust her? "Only if you let them win. You can break the curse that brought me here." Anna shouted, urgency lacing her tone. "Don't wait. It's your only chance." Lisa took a deep breath, the icy grip of the shadows tightening around her. The choice was hers, but it felt like a web was spun, knotting tighter with each passing moment. Would she fight for Anna? Could saving her friend mean saving herself from the horrors of the cabin? "I can't," Lisa choked out, a lump forming in her throat. "What if I choose wrong?" A low growl echoed from the walls, a reminder of the lurking darkness. With her pulse racing, Lisa understood this was not merely about Anna nor her own escape. It was about breaking a cycle of despair that threatened to carry her into the same fate. In a sudden surge of clarity, Lisa plunged the blade toward the ground, where shadows twisted feverishly. The metal sank into the wooden floor as a bright light exploded from the point of contact, dazzling shadows shrinking back like cockroaches from a beam of sunlight. "No!" Anna screamed, bewildered and enraged as swirling darkness writhed around them, cries of anguish erupting from trapped souls, echoing through the cleansing light. "Join me," Anna howled, a reflection of terror and something more sinister twisted in her gaze. "You can't escape this." But Lisa pressed on, unwilling to be cowed. "I'm not going to let you take me. Nobody should belong to the darkness." The cabin shuddered, walls vibrating with fury, the swirling shadows hissing, as if the very wood protested her defiance. In that instant, she felt a force beyond her, that primal battle of light pushing against dark, and she clenched her fists, determination surging through her veins. She had to be braver than fear. With one last push, she twisted the blade, a flash of blinding white erupting like a star born from the depths of the night's embrace. The walls of the cabin splintered, howls merging with shards of light, and Anna screamed, a noise of sorrow that reverberated through the very earth. The shadows recoiled, a massive form collapsing in on itself, and then silence. Lisa stumbled back, breaths coming sharp and shallow, until she was outside, sunlight piercing through the canopy of trees, its warmth bathing her like a long-forgotten embrace. The forest was alive with sound, clearer than ever before, the wind stirring the branches and birds flitting through the air. Kyle's face appeared, panic etched in his features, but he rushed to her, eyes wide with concern. "You did it. You broke free." Gathering her thoughts, alive with every detail of their surroundings, the rustling leaves, the distant rush of a stream, Lisa felt an unshakable weight lift. But one thread of fear remained, lingering deep beneath the surface. "What about Emma?" she whispered, a cold realization settling in her stomach. "There's no trace," Kyle replied, steeling his resolve as they glanced back toward the dark silhouette of the cabin, now an almost benign shell overshadowed by mountains. "We fought and you broke the cycle. She's gone." As they turned away from the remnants of the horror, something bright glimmered in the underbrush, an old locket, its surface polished smooth, reflecting shards of sunlight. Lisa picked it up, trembling, deep emotions bubbling to the surface, a reminder of what had been lost, yet a symbol of perseverance. "I'll keep it," she declared, feeling each heartbeat resonate with purpose. "For Emma and everyone who has been taken." Together, hand in hand, they stepped into the warmth of the day, shadows retreating into whispers behind them. This time the forest felt lighter. They had faced the darkness, defied it, and while the scars might remain, the light ahead was theirs to discover. After all, there was no escape from their past, but they could forge a future wiser, stronger, together. Every path was clearer now, and as Lisa took a cautious step forward, she knew that not every shadow came to haunt. Some were simply waiting for a chance to fade. If you enjoyed this wild journey with Lisa and Kyle, don't you dare miss out on our next exclusive adventure. You need to subscribe now, hit that button so you're always in the loop with the latest stories. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and let us know you want more terrifying tales. And don't just keep this thrill to yourself. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this insane ending. What do you think happened to Emma? Let us keep the horror alive. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who crave the inside scoop on spine-chilling narratives just like this one. Make your voice heard, support the channel because you matter. Don't wait even one more second.